pleasure, baby.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Second Street. I hope you're all having a very good day, and welcome to the show this morning stream. We are going to hear yet another bad take on all the news going on out there in the world, right? Isn't there some stuff going on? Isn't there something out there everybody's talking about? There's just this thing that everybody's talking about. And, it's, I got up this morning. And, woke up, got my morning workout done. It's something I do regularly, right? And, one of the things when you start working out, is like Monday, I started strength training. It's been about 2 months since I've lifted some weights as I was doing some more plyometric work and cardio type of stuff in the garage. Just, it was cold out over the, like the last couple months here through December and January. Right? So you got to do something. I'm not out on my bike as much. I was still riding, but just not as much as I would normally. And let alone last year was the kind of year I didn't really ride my bike as much as I would normally anyway. I still got out and rode plenty, but I did a lot more working out in the garage, a lot more lifting weights, strength training, and things like that, right? Well, one of the things that helps, when you're working out, when it comes to your health and your fitness is consistency. Consistently doing something day in and day out and remaining as consistent as you can. This is something that applies in nearly every facet of your life, right? Is being consistent. Consistency matters in just about everything. Hell, it matters when you're making pancakes, okay? Seriously, it does. And it's a very important thing because when the consistency in which you have, especially like say when I'm working out in the garage, right? If you're starting a new health plan, a new fitness plan, right? The thing is that foundation, getting started and being consistent and doing it every day, right? That's the thing you want to do. Right, you go into a workout, and here's the thing: everybody goes starts a new program. They jump in head first. They're all ready to go. And you hit the weights that day, and you feel like Superman. So you were in there, you're hitting it, and then the next day you can't move. Right, you went too hard, and you can't work out the next day. Right, it wasn't very smart, was it? Right. The thing is you want to be able to work out the next day, so you don't overdo it. Just because you can curl those weights over the course of a whole workout. Can you maintain your good form? Can you lift just enough so where you're sore and you're still able to work out the next day? Hey, most people aren't good at it. But that's the thing, is you want to be consistent. Because the more consistent you can be, it builds that foundation. Once you start going, you keep going. You got that good foundation, that good consistency going on. Then you just start getting better at every single thing across the board, right? And if you stop being consistent, well, then all that stuff starts to go away. But you gotta be, if anything, consistent. A lot of this comes with knowing your limits, knowing what you can and can't do, and knowing what you should and shouldn't do, knowing when to take a break. Right? Knowing that no pain, no gain is a bullshit motto. Right? You've got to remain, if anything, consistent. Go out there and do it day in and day out. Like I said, you're going to need rest days. Absolutely. Maybe you get rest weeks. A rest week doesn't mean that, you just stop working out. You still do stuff. It's just not that committed workout. Right? There's still lots of things that you do even on a rest week, and you got to build on these foundations, and it keeps going. And the longer you go, the better it is. You make changes. Your body makes changes, right? Makes a lot of changes and things like that. So here's the thing: is like once you get so far, once you've made so much progress. Right, once you go backwards a little, it's not that bad. It's a little bit different. Believe me. I used to be, a little over a decade ago, I was, I don't know, a little over 260 pounds. I honestly stopped weighing myself after the last time I weighed myself, which was about 260, right? And what happened was, over the course of, this last decade, and believe me, at that time I was already, I worked out and stuff, just not regularly, not consistently. I rode bikes. I was just getting into cycling a little bit before that. But the thing is I started getting more consistent. I became committed at something, right? And then just slowly, worked my way down from 260. From 260, within 90 days, I was down to 200, right? And then from there, it was the fight on downhill, or the rest of the uphill battle, I guess, if you will, going to get that last, get that. How much, how much can you get? Now the thing is you lose the weight, so, you're motivated and you keep going, right? It's easy. It's easy at that point. You've overcame so much, right? You overcame so much. And the thing is when you start to, lack on the consistency a little bit, it's okay. Because here's the thing is you still can get away with keeping up some consistency. You can maintain. You can maintain. It's not too hard to maintain, right? But when you're ready to smash it and you want to make those changes again, you got to be ready to ratchet it up. And part of that comes with, like, take a look at this. Like when like right now, I am weighing about 189. That's the last time I weighed myself. I have to go weigh myself again. But, right now, after this 10 years, when I hit 190 pounds, I look a lot different than 10 years ago when I was 190 pounds. My body composition is different. And right now at 190 pounds, I can still see my abs kind of cutting through some of that chub. It didn't used to be that way, right? My neck is still a little bit skinnier now at 190 than it was back then, right? Because I made all these changes. This consistency. And this consistency over time is what allows some of that stuff to happen. It's what allows that fitness to come back somewhat easily once when you do like I did a couple years ago when I crashed, right? I crashed. I fractured my collarbone, my clavicle, my scapula, and a few ribs. A lot of just all here, all on my left side. You can probably see some of the scars right there still, right? See it? Now the thing is I crashed that day. 10 days later, post surgery, well, so about 12 days later from after, about 12 days later after I crashed initially, I was back on my bike riding again. And, I rode back to my fitness and kept it up after that. And a lot of that came with consistency. One of the things I was sitting here around the house, my body started hurting, right? My body starts hurting as I was sitting here, as it was going through pain anyway from the surgery and all that kinds of stuff and just healing. But the rest of my body hurt from not being mobile, not doing what I did. So this, and believe me, by 10 days, I was like, my body was in agonizing pain. I had to get on my bike, and I started slowly, progressively over the next few days before I finally got back onto my road bike and I was riding again. And I rode back into my fitness. And a lot of these things, because for a long time, I was consistent doing all of these things, right? Now, consistency is something that it really does go across the board for everything in your life. The same thing applies to your health, like your diet, what you eat every day, those kinds of things as well. If you have bad medical symptoms, a lot of that can be corrected through diet. Right? A lot of it can be, you won't get rid of everything, but there's plenty of studies out there that show, hey, if you consistently eat good food and don't eat any of that bad stuff out there, processed foods and things like that, you can make your body healthy again. Your body is an amazing thing, right? And see, given over time, it's the same thing, just like those workouts. Eating healthy, right? It leads to better things. Yes, you can't. Yeah, that's part of it. Matter of fact, that's probably really the key if you're trying to get fit and things like that. Probably definitely the key, right? But again, it comes down to consistency. Consistency in what you're doing and what you're eating and what you're putting in your mouth. Now, let's say you run a business. Let's say you work for somebody. You have a boss, right? Being consistent is something that they appreciate out of you. You know, being somebody that's dependable, right? It's no different. It's no different. They want somebody who is there, ready to do the work when they're needed to do the work, right? And you know, the more you're there, hey, they're like, hey, they trust you. You're with them. Like, hey, yeah, you're one of their go-to people, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'll tell you one thing for me. Like, I used to do. I used to work at the world's largest retailer for a long time, and you know, I worked my way up through the ranks there, working my way into management and things like that. And one of the things that I always did, you know, is I always wanted to learn from, you know, like people that knew what they were doing. And how do I do that? I watch what people are doing. I listen to what people are telling me. I watch the people around me, and I'm saying, okay, like who here is doing the best work? Like just from my assumption, you know, as I'm working and learning stuff, right? And you start to see, and you learn these things. You know, you learn from others, and you get good at your work. You get promoted, right? You get promoted. A lot of these things come down to you know, just being a team player, right? You got to be a team player, especially if you're on a team. Especially, you know, especially if you're in an environment where you're working with other people. You know, the end goal, especially what we were doing when I worked at this place, is, you know, the bottom line is it's a company and you got to make money. You know, if they don't make money, I don't have a job, right? Now, of course, naturally, through the course of all of these kinds of things, there's plenty of things that go on that you don't agree with, right? Plenty of times I'm sitting there at work and there's something going on and I don't agree with it. Sometimes I'm not in the position to say something. It's not my position to say something, right? That doesn't mean I don't say it, you know, because there are times when it's appropriate. There are times when it is okay to say it. And you got to take advantage of those times. You definitely have to. Now, the thing is ultimately, you know, you want to be a team player when you're in that kind of environment, you know, and a lot comes with that. A lot comes with that. But that doesn't mean that you can't say and speak what's on your mind when you're in that kind of environment. When I worked at a place like that, as I was working my way up, you know, it's kind of like those things that like here on YouTube. It's really like the same thing. It's really like the same kind of thing. Like I can go along with everything, you know, it's all good. We get along, but when it comes right down to it, when you get in those meetings, you know, as I slowly worked my way up, I didn't get promoted as fast as a lot of other people or anything like that. And I'm okay with that. Because, you know, one thing that I always had the whole time was my integrity, right? I had my integrity. I didn't give in to people's to whatever people wanted. I had to do what I had to do for myself while I was there, and also once I started getting promoted, I had to do what was right for my team. Right? Now, when it comes down to my team, I had to set an example for them. Right? I had to be the example, and I had to hold people accountable. I was held accountable. I was held accountable for a lot of shit. And you know what? I didn't always have to hold people accountable because as I was getting into those, taking on these different roles, I didn't do it from kissing my boss's butt or saying what people wanted me to say. It was because, well, for one, I was consistent in all that stuff, and I would say what other people didn't want to say in these situations. Can't tell you how many times we're sitting there in a meeting. You know, so, you know, department managers meetings, you know, you get into these other managers meetings and things, you know, as the higher you get. And there's all these times when you're having these meetings, your store managers going off, you know, telling all of these things, you know, expectations and things that have to be met, things that aren't being done, things that you're doing wrong, things that you need to improve on. All of these kinds of things. And everybody's kind of like, oh, man, you know, and there's that chance there when they're talking about stuff. It's like, what does anybody think? And everybody's sitting there like, I'm like, yeah, you son of bitches. I'll fucking say something. I'll go and I'll say something. You say something and you lay it down. Like, you know what? unfortunately, when you're in that kind of situation, you know you got to start pointing fingers at people. Unfortunately, you do. So you point the finger and all that stuff. And the thing is, you got to know that you are still in that hot seat as well, right? You can't be the guy just out there pointing fingers and not know that you're part of it. You know, you're not perfect. I know I'm not perfect. But the thing is if you're the only one willing to say something, nobody else ever says anything. You know, you're kind of that person that's out there that people are like, man, I don't know, man. Can we trust this guy? He's a loose cannon. And believe me, I got a lot of that because I will say the other shit that people are thinking and won't say, especially in those times, right? They were all happy I said that shit, but not one of them would say anything back either, you know? Nobody else would have something to say. Or after that, people would be like, okay, I do have something, like all of a sudden. And the thing is it's not pointing fingers at you because I'm saying that you're a piece, like you're terrible at your job. It's a criticism because we need to improve. I know I need to improve, and I will point fingers even at the people above us and say they need to improve because they're not doing what they need to be doing either. You got to equip us, right? It's a two-way thing here. It goes both ways. Like, I can't progress and get better if you don't help me, right? Because if I don't know, I need to know. Like, you need to coach me up, right? Get me where I need to go. And if you don't know the answers to those things, you are useless to me in that sense. And that's something that you need to improve on, because I need to improve on it too. There's deficiencies in all kinds of things, right? Especially when you get in these kinds of situations, when you got multiple people working together that are supposed to all be working like clockwork. And it can work like clockwork. But it can't work like clockwork if it's all broken and nobody's willing to just go in there and fix it, or willing to look at this clockwork and see that it's broken and the parts need to be fixed. It needs to be all put back in line, right? So, you know, naturally, being that kind of person, I always got promoted slower. Like I said, people are always questioning, like, man, gotta be careful. Is this dude what's up with this dude? Is he gonna turn on me? And the thing is they knew, most of them, a lot of the people that I came up with, knew that it wasn't like that. Because of the consistency in which I did everything that I did. I know I'm not perfect, you know, and I appreciate people coming over and criticizing my shit so I know what I need to improve. That's why I'm willing to point that finger, right? Because I maybe it's not even you. Maybe like, oh well, you know, like, shit. Glad somebody said it because maybe I needed to hear it, right? And that only gets somebody else to be like, oh well, this guy, he's gonna sit there and point the fingers at other people. Let's go check out his stuff. Go right ahead, please. Please. I need that insight. I can't improve without it. But the thing is when it comes down to it, that's what it comes down to. Like, I need that criticism from other people. If I don't get that criticism from other people, you know, then I'm sitting here thinking that I'm doing a good job, and then next thing you know, the store manager is gonna come walk my shit, and he's gonna be like, "Hey, no, this is all wrong," and then I'm in trouble because nobody else will tell me. Maybe not even my manager, because like I said, maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't have that experience, right? There's many wheels in this cog, right? And part of a lot of the things it came down to when it comes to a lot of those kinds of things is consistency. And that's a hard thing, especially when you're a guy like me who's sitting out there willing to say something, you know, because a lot of times people are like, okay, well, like, you want to do this? Well, let's go ahead and if you're so perfect, let's go ahead and check your stuff out. Let's check out your consistency and what you're saying as to what you're doing. Well, the thing is they realize too, it's a team thing, but they scrutinize you a little bit more. And that's okay, because you need that scrutiny, right? You only get better. You only get better with it. But there's a right way and a wrong way to go about doing these kinds of things too. You don't just go out and start throwing all these criticisms at people. They give you that time. That's why they have those meetings. Is you're supposed to be there and learning stuff, and that's why you're supposed to speak up in those meetings, right? These kinds of things only improve people. They improve the relationship there at work. And like I said, my consistency in everything I did, hey, people learned to trust me off of my consistency. It was important. Now, like I said, consistency doesn't come across the board, and it's harsh. It sucks when you're the guy there and the people above you aren't consistent, right? Maybe I'm doing as much as I can and my stuff looks better than somebody else, but they hold me to a higher standard, right? They'll hold me to a higher standard because I'm willing to say something. There's no consistency there. Oh, this you can go to this person over here who's been doing this same job for a lot longer, and their area looks like trash, but they're all good. Mine looks great, but I'm the one like you're gonna scrutinize mine more and hold me to a different standard, right? And that's an important thing. That's an important thing to realize in these kinds of situations. It's an unfair situation, right? It's an unfair situation. But it's still important that I try to meet that fake standard that they have if I want to stay there and continue doing what I'm doing. If I want to stay there and continue doing what I'm doing. I can always move on somewhere else, get another job. I can always move to a different department. I can always do something else. Believe me, there's nothing wrong with that because there are other areas, like there are areas, especially me, in those kinds of situations. I was great in some areas. And there were some areas not so good in, needed improvement. But there was some areas where I absolutely knocked that shit out of the fucking park. And you couldn't find anybody better to do what I did, right? I'm the best at what I do. Now, the thing is all of these things are important. There's kind of a lot of politics that go on when it comes to a work environment like that. There's a lot of things that come into play. I knew that there was only so much I could do if I wanted to continue my employment there, continue to get promoted, and things like that. You still have to kind of play ball because it's their ballpark, it's their game, it's their business, right? And they have to kind of watch their asses. Now, it sucks because you know for sure, you see it all over the place while you're there at work. There's inconsistencies across the board. And most of them are probably going to be aimed your direction because you got a big mouth, Trinity. Right? Believe me. If there's anybody out there that knows, I know. Now, I guess you could say that kind of brings us to this, there's a situation going on out there everybody's talking about with Gina Carano. She got fired from her job at The Mandalorian. She no longer works for Lucasfilm. Right? There's a lot of people out there. Some people are upset. Some people are passionate about it. Right? Some people are like, yay! Everybody's celebrating. In one way or another. And, it's funny. You get out there on the interwebs and you see these people who are against cancel culture, for cancel culture. But, hey, I get it. And that's the thing is like, I get both sides of the arguments here. And that's the thing. It's a difficult situation. There's still... And that's the thing is, you can't avoid it. Like, I don't care how you feel about it. And that's the thing is, you can't deny this, that literally politics are involved. This is, it's political, and it's just like inter-office politics. Let's don't pretend that they don't exist. They do. They absolutely do. It doesn't necessarily mean that politics as far as political views, but it is still something that is political. There are interoffice politics and things like that with what's going on in this situation. And it's a difficult situation because you see somebody who gets fired from a job at a company who has not been consistent in holding people accountable for similar actions. Now, you could make lots of arguments to maybe what position people are in, you know. They're both representatives of the company, but this one's in front of everyone's faces. This guy is behind the scenes, right? You could sit there and try and chop that up all day, but I'll tell you one thing that you can't deny is that there is some inconsistency there going on. And you could say those inconsistencies probably come down to some sort of political agenda. And in the end, it does. Maybe not just all politics, like a lot of people would have you believe if you look at social media, saying that it's the right versus the left. And hey, I'm sure there is plenty of that goes into it. There is plenty of that goes into this particular situation as well. Sure, probably, maybe so. Would it be the first time we've seen something like this? Absolutely not. And, it's ultimately not my place to tell you. I think it's a messed up situation because we see this company isn't consistent in the things that they're doing. And we also see where we got somebody else out there, poking the bear. But there's been other people out there that poke the bear too, right? Right? Let's not forget. Yeah. We know about Pedro. We know about Pedro too. And that's the thing, is this is a dance that we could sit here and dance all day long. We could talk about all this stuff and debate all these little finer points about this and that. And at the end of the day, are you going to convince anybody during all that dancing? Does it matter? Yeah, I'd say for a lot of people, I would say this kinds of shit matters. Because a lot of people look at this and they see that inconsistency that I'm talking about here. Consistency being that foundation in which you need to build trust and rapport on with not only the people that are employed by you, but also your customers, the people to which you serve. Right? And that's where it really gets into all this stuff. What does the company do? Do they listen to all the fans out there? Is that what they do? Do they serve all the fans, the people that pay them, right? Or do they listen to all their stockholders, their investors? Do they listen to the manager? Right? I know I've been in plenty of situations, especially these kinds of situations where, there's in a lot of situations there's a real difference between being a manager and being a leader. Not all managers are leaders. Not all leaders are managers. That's for sure. And we can kind of see these are the things that people look at when they're looking at situations like this, is consistency in which has gone on here with this company, has gone on here with these people. We know that there's plenty of things going on out there in social media. People are going to blame social media, and certainly social media plays a part in it. But it's only if you yourself let it. It's going to play itself out regardless. But how you react to it is the bigger thing. Do any of these things really matter? Are you going to work for Disney? Probably not. And if so, good for you. That's great. Then it should matter for you if you're going to work for this company. If not, if you're a customer of this company, it absolutely matters. And that's the whole thing here, where you're seeing probably online all the reactions to it and everything, right? Like I said, I'm not here to tell you how to feel about this situation because it's a messy situation. But it kind of goes back and forth. Like, there's some tweets and stuff out there that probably shouldn't be tweeted. Like, okay, yeah, sure, everybody's entitled to their bad take. People out there talking about First Amendments. Well, you're free to say whatever you want to say. As long as it's not hate speech. but that's with repercussions from the government, you know. And I know people are gonna chop that up too, because that's what we gotta do, right? We gotta do lawyer speak and chop it up all day, you know, and spin it around with our rhetoric and just become a bunch of sophists, right? It's not really, I don't know. Is it really a black or white issue? Like, can you blame Disney for firing Gina Carano? Was it right? Can you blame people for being upset about it? Can you blame people for being happy about it? Like, yeah, you're gonna be happy somebody lost their job, like, you know. And don't get me wrong. Like I said, people are entitled to their bad opinion. Companies are free to, you know, hire and fire people for what they do on social media. I mean, as long as that's in what they in their little contract they signed, right? And chances are most places it is. When I worked at this company that I was talking about, there were things like that as well, where there were times when social media things, as those things started progressing along over the years, started to play into some of this. You could kind of see it where they started kind of like, hey, you know, like how, you know, dealing with these different things as they come along. Um, because if you are a representative of a certain company and those kinds of things like that, obviously they're going to have something to say if you're out there saying ridiculous things and getting people upset. But that's where their consistency should come in, right? Their consistency, and that's the thing. We could sit here and chop it up all day. It's ultimately up to you how you feel about this and what you want to continue to do going forward. I mean, are you going to stand with Gina Carano and all that stuff? And, you know, hey, no problem if you do. That's fine. That's fine. Are you going to cancel Disney Plus? That's fine if you do. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you don't and you find it silly, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the biggest problem here, the biggest issue across the board here, is that consistency in which this company holds their standards to the people who are under their employ, right? I think that's really the real issue. It's not really anything else. Let's be honest here. It's not really anything else. It's that consistency in which this company holds their standards. If it wasn't for that, a lot of other things could be avoided. But now we see that there's going to be this mess, and you're going to see it all over the social media. Everybody's going to be sitting there talking about it. Everybody's got their side, right? Everybody's got their side, and everybody's got to be right. Like I said, it's another messy one. It's another messy one for sure. Another messy one for sure. It's you know, and really, like, I don't know. I mean, who is it a bad look for? The company? For Gina? For, you know, it's really hard to say. Now, the one thing in all the times that even when I worked at this company that I worked at, there were times where I was certainly in the doghouse. Hell, I've been fired from that company before, right? Yeah, I got fired. I got fired, and I ended up getting rehired. They took a chance on me, and hey, that's when I started doing good and I started to flourish. Because they took that chance. I didn't take advantage of it. The second time around, I didn't take advantage of it. I'm like, dude, fuck it. It's a fucking job. And it can be a good job. It's not the best job in the world at all. But I learned a lot of things in these types of environments and those kinds of jobs. And I went a lot of places, did a lot of things working for that company. And you know what? I did get fired by them. I ended up getting rehired. And you know why I got fired? Well, because I was me. Because I was me. And you know what? Maybe, you know, being an asshat within the first year of your employment isn't the smartest thing. Or at least, you know, getting this one guy pissed off at you and triggered because, you know, he just don't like you. Guess that doesn't help, right? I mean, you got their attention, and they got they had the they got the power position on you on this one, and that's the other thing, right? Too, power structures going on here. Got to be careful with those kinds of things. So, like I said, this is really not one of those kind of black and white discussions. It really comes down to how you feel about things like that. To me, I think the biggest issue is consistency of the standards to which this company holds its employees. And we can see that. I think that's ultimately the bigger issue of anything going on here with this particular situation. And, well, it's going to be interesting to see here as this all plays out. Is it done? I don't know. But that's just my thoughts on it. You know, like I said, I don't know. How do I feel about this situation? Oh man, I don't really have any feeling, man. Like it's like at this point, I kind of expect it. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah. Because like I said, we can see the consistency that they do, the consistency that they have there at this place, at this company with their employees, right? And we can see the consistency with which they handle them. And that's why, like me, I'm just like, hey, can't act like you didn't see it coming. Can't act like you didn't see it coming. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for this stream. It's a relatively short one. I hope you're all having a very good day. And yeah, if you're not already, please make sure you subscribe, click the little bell and all of that good stuff. And we'll see you in the next video. Later.